Let's give Jose a couple minutes to join us. If not, we can just get started. Yeah, we're good.
Tomas, would you do the roll call when time comes?
Sure.
Thank you.
So we definitely lost Raymond, he's done. I thought he said
He's
he was
done.
August, but
Yeah, he's done.
yeah, okay. Janice isn't here?
She's on vacation.
Okay. I do know that.
Oh, I knew that. I know these things.
Well, I'm glad you're in.
Oh, yeah. I had to tell Christian. He didn't know.
I didn't know, I just was like, oh.
We'll go ahead and get started. For the Zoom recording, starting the meeting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This meeting is now called to order. Start with roll call. Janice Young is not present. Paul Buscal,
Present.
Christian Cabrera,
Present.
Jose Moreno, and Emily Werwick.
Present.
And then can a committee member file a motion to adopt the agenda?
I make a motion to adopt the agenda. Can we make one modification to that?
Yeah.
Can we pause the election of the vice chair since Janice is not here?
Yeah, it makes sense. That had occurred to us as well, but we wanted to see what you guys thought.
So I make a motion to adopt the agenda with removing point G from the new business.
Okay.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You got it from here, Paul.
Okay. Thanks, Tomas. So, welcome to our August 5th meeting of the Complete Street Safety Committee. We don't have a lot on our meeting agenda tonight, but well, I guess that brings us to oral communications, right?
Yeah, no one in the Zoom meeting right now, and I haven't received any correspondence regarding items not on the agenda. Or sorry, regarding items on the agenda, or not on the agenda as well.
Pardon me, Tomas?
No public comment received on items not on the agenda. Sorry for that.
Yeah, so I'll just mention that if anybody on Zoom or in the public would like to speak on anything that is not on the agenda, this is your opportunity to do so. And if you're here to speak on one of the items on the agenda, we'll be getting to those soon.
I'll try to say that next time, Moz. Thanks. Well said. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so that brings us to approval of the minutes.
I don't have any edits to the minutes. Does anyone else have any edits to the minutes?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the June 3rd, 2026 meeting.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to old business. And none, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Uh-oh. Okay. We may have oral communications at the end, if everybody agrees with that. So that brings us to new business. San Mateo County Office of Education School Traveling Fellowship, our status update and discussion.
Yeah, I can do a quick update on this. On July 29th, we finalized the design after a meeting with myself, Brisbane elementary staff, and Alta Planning. And so the quick build implementations is going to include bulb outs at 3 locations. These are San Bruno Avenue and Alvarado Street, San Bruno Avenue and Glen Parkway, and Glen Parkway and San Benito Road. And the soft build implementations are more or less the same at each location. They're going to include bulb outs at each corner, similar to the ones we see at the 5-point intersections. And they're going to include in-street pedestrian crossing signs. And they're also going to include striping improvements. And these were scheduled to go in next Monday, but due to a supply chain error, from what I understand, this is being delayed till somewhere in the week of August 20th. And maybe I just want to open this up to you guys, see if you guys have any initial thoughts. This is as we've said, it's a soft implementation. Ideally would lead to permanent infrastructure in the future. But this is the current implementation we have planned for the upcoming school year.
Okay. Thank you for that, Tomas. So, anybody have any questions or comments? Jose, you have anything?
Not right now.
Christian?
Not at the moment. So did you route this for us to review earlier, or are we going to have an opportunity to review?
Yeah, we actually got it pretty recently, but yeah, we can.
So I will add that the supply chain error was not a City of Brisbane error, so don't be mad at the team.
Right, yeah.
That was the design team's delay. So, don't throw tomatoes or anything at Maz and Tomas. They did great. This is something that there were a few options that were put to the group, and these are what we got approved, which will be paid for by the grant that we were given through the Safe Routes to School. So we're really excited that we got 3 of them and not just 1 approved. So it's good to see that. We've had some good discussions over the few months that we've been doing this about other things that could be secondary in the future. So it's been really good to be part of that group of people and working on more improvements. And there's a lot more thought of going what would be next that we would work on next around the school and after these are installed.
And part of the fellowship was actually, it's about encouraging students to take alternative modes of transportation to school. And the goal of this program is to see how well the implementations actually affect student behavior. So once these implementations are in, we're actually going to evaluate, did the numbers change? Are there more kids walking to school? How does the community feel about it? Are there more kids biking? So the goal is that ideally this will increase the number of students taking alternative modes of transportation to school and doing so safely and with support from the community. And again, to hopefully have a permanent installation.
And there will be a survey for feedback. We talked about that at our last meeting about creating something where general community members can give feedback, and then parents who are walking or kids can, QR code and give feedback on what they think about the improvements.
And if I may, through the chair, I want to respond to Committee Member Cabrera's comments. I understand. So this, where you're coming from with respect to the improvements, the way that these grants work is really interesting. It's because they're not hard improvements. We, with the design consultant and the school district and the city and others that have been involved, we came up with this as kind of our pilot. So this is what we're proposing. This is what we will be implementing, where we have opportunities for comments and changes are through the next year as we're piloting this thing. When we come back, the concept would be taking any of these elements that work, that we feel are positive, and turning those into permanent improvements. So when you look on your page where you see the white line with the blue dots, that represents an area that would be a bulb out in the future. So right now, it would be basically a stripe that would be placed where you see the white line. And then those blue dots would be epoxied on delineator, vertical plastic delineator. And we just to see how that works and how that improves overall traffic patterns. And then the feedback will come over the next year. We'll have an opportunity to revisit that. And that's where we will bring this back to the commission for a discussion about permanent improvements.
Okay. I wasn't sure what the cost was on these, but that doesn't, I have an idea that can maybe go along with this, and maybe we can do it sooner than this happens, like we did on Visitation with the stop signs. It's like one of the best things that's happened on Visitation with those stop signs for all kinds of reasons. And I would like to see a stop sign on San Bruno at Glen Park and one at Alvarado, both directions. It really, I mean, so many times I've come down the hill and I've seen people try to beat somebody out coming up the hill to make a left turn on Glen Park. And, you know, my concern are the kids on the other side of that chain link fence at the school. And I know they've talked about looking into that and seeing what they could do to make that safer. But, you know, the cost of the stop signs and the wording, the painting of the stop was what, $2,000 per stop sign. And the criteria, I believe, that we had to meet on Visitation would definitely be a factor on Alvarado as well, and San Bruno Avenue and Glen Park, because of the buildings being built out, creating also that limited site situation. So I would like to see stop signs put at Alvarado and Glen Park on San Bruno Avenue. And if it could be, I mean, that what you did on Visitation got done really quickly.
From the time when we conducted this, the initial data collection and did everything, it was a good 3 or 4 month process. But we will. I mean, we've talked about the San Bruno corridor and the need to revisit these locations and intersections. So that's still on our list, and it'll be something that we'll work on. I don't know if we'll be able to get to it before ideally this would be done in August with the fellowship. So I don't know if we'll beat that timeline, but it is on our work plan for staff for this fiscal year.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, I would add, are we going to route this, you know, in the usual social media platform of the cities to get people aware of it? And also, are they going to be incorporated in our existing school safe route?
Regarding the outreach, yes, I actually had a draft write-up prepared for the blast, but given the supply chain delays, we're going to push it back, the publication of the blast maybe a week out. Regarding safe routes to school, this one's a little different. I think this one's more focused on visibility and traffic safety as far as actual routes. So I don't know if we're going to update the current map that you're talking about. You're talking about the map with the medallions. I think this is a slightly different scope, and it's a different school. The other one is more focused on Lippman, but I guess that could be a discussion.
So you bring a good point. If it doesn't take that much, can you briefly describe? So this is mainly for kids with disability, or I mean, what? So what the design, the line with the blue dots? I mean, what exactly are you going to achieve with it?
Well, for example, let's zoom in on this one just for an example. The intention is, whereas a crossing student would be initially, if without this extension, they would be waiting here for vehicle traffic.
Right.
They were actually pushed out a bit further, and they have this buffer area where there are ideally there's better sight visibility between the oncoming vehicle and the pedestrian waiting to cross. So the idea is to push out students and make them more visible in the street, but while protected by these delineators and separated from the roadway with these delineators. So the goal is to make pedestrians more visible to oncoming traffic.
Or is that just entirely stripe painted on the on the floor or the street, or are you going to have some sort of those flexible boundaries?
Yeah, it'll be both. So it'll be like on 5 Points intersection. There will be
Cool.
white striping on
All
the
right.
pavement.
That's very good. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anything else, Tomas?
No, we will keep you guys posted if anything else changes regarding that. That was unfortunate that we expected the installation to go on next week, but we will continue to keep you guys posted and keep you updated. Emily will be there, of course, in any of our email chains regarding this implementation. But yeah, I think it's I'm excited to see how it. I want to see the tallies and see how all this works.
It was a good job working on that grant. Was that the new city engineer that did that? The assistant?
This came through primarily through Public Works. But
Oh, okay.
Tomas, thank you,
okay.
Tomas. And we're also working on,
Thank you, class.
one of the other things that came out of this is that we were notified that there's another grant that we can apply for that I'm going to work on with the principal at BES. So we're going to get another, hopefully, if we get it, another $50,000 to make more improvements. So
yes, thank you for noting that. So the grant has to be sponsored by the school, so it has to be submitted by the school, but obviously the city staff will have input and we can offer our expertise and our experience with grants and these kind of implementations.
Thanks. Okay. Let's see, that brings us to the 2026 work plan assignments discussion.
Yeah, so I guess I'll lead it in by saying this one's a pretty open-ended one. I know this is probably a new task for a lot of you, a new experience. So I'm just curious to hear your experiences, maybe some things that worked, didn't work. Do you feel you've collected enough data, or really just open-ended?
Yeah, I mean, I would add, any progress you've made, we'd love to hear. Any concerns, this is a good opportunity to just check in to see how we're doing with some of that, the work that that the committee distributed amongst each other at the last meeting. And then, yeah, this is a good opportunity to check in and see how things have been going so far.
I'll go first. So I took on the sidewalk audit of the whole town. So huge shout out and thank you to Sarah Mills and her family, Alejandro Cerda and his family, and Renee Russo and her family, because they have walked streets with me. I have 13 streets left and everything else has been walked. We've photographed, we've written down comments on shrubbery, vegetation, lighting, stop signs, crosswalks that need to be repainting, unevenness, just you name it. There's some that are, we've put, high priority on them, but that's up to this committee to make that decision. But hopefully by next meeting, I will have my full report prepared with pictures and a spreadsheet of every street and where there are potential issues.
Yeah, these are very, time consuming. They require a lot of, on top of personal matters and jobs and everything. So I understand if there's still work to be done.
Jose?
So, what was design item number 6?
Sorry, Jose, just for the Zoom recording, would you mind turning your mic on so he catches it?
As I mentioned, I was assigned to item number 6. And what I noticed is that there are some alignment with number 4 that, Amy just mentioned, fields of observations principally. But what I did is, as I mentioned, I'm new here. I don't know who to contact. Emily is so helpful. She provides a lot of tips. But I wanted to wait until today. So I created a plan, an action plan. It's a 5-step plan. I have it ready. I didn't send it via email. I didn't have a chance, but I'm going to do that after the meeting. So it includes all 5 steps, and I also created a template for the field observation and all of the items that I have. But item number 1 on the action plan for me is a meeting with the Public Arts Advisory Committee. So it relates to them. So again, my question is, am I allowed to contact them directly? How can I contact them? How can I schedule a meeting? So in that way I can grab more information and get the details. And then step number 2 is gonna be actually doing the field work. But for that, I'm pretty sure Emily knows Brisbane more than anyone here.
No.
So I can just get in contact with her, see what she already did, see if there is something I can use so that I don't have to do everything myself. So again, I will share the action plan and the template that I have, and I will appreciate any advice you can provide.
That's great to hear that you are, you've been thinking about this to that extent with involving the Public Art Advisory Committee. I think, I don't know if there's an actual issue with you. I guess it's probably best to just contact me and I can connect you guys just to be on the safe side, just regarding communications with city staff.
Perfect, thank you.
And I'll look forward to seeing your template because, yeah, I'm interested to see what you put together.
Sure.
Okay, can you hear me? So I was assigned the bike routes. Obviously, there's a lot of work over there, to make sure if we could use some additional bike routes or improve the existing bike routes. And the main areas are, and I did provide you my feedback, Tomas. I mean, I email you my work so far. The main areas that that are having the assignment are Tono Avenue, Bayshore, and Guadalupe Canyon. So for Bayshore, basically, we know that this is the Brisbane is in the middle of a very highly traffic area, and mainly a lot of the traffic is as a heavy traffic, like 18-wheelers and so forth. So a lot of people don't feel comfortable riding their bike on Bayshore, which is the main artery to connect you to other towns, and even if you want to ride your bike to work. So it's considered like class 3. I don't know the details, but they were recommended to make it class 4. That will be in Bayshore. Same scenario for Tono Avenue. And for Guadalupe Canyon, pretty much, but I would try to concentrate any resources, and I don't know if there's grants on Bayshore Boulevard. In addition to that, we also have the Bay Trail, which is a robust trail that goes on pretty much on the perimeter of the bay. And the only way for you to connect to that trail is if you take, visitation, then that goes into Tono, and then you have to go around the lagoon, and it's just like, next thing you know, you're like at least half an hour on bike just to get to the Bay Trail. I think there should be a shortcut from Bayshore and then do some sort of connection to, I think it's Sierra Point Park. So I would recommend that. The other things I would, bike routes, mainly for recreation or just to get people, started riding their bike and so forth, would be our Crocker Loop. In the Crocker Park, we have a little loop. Make it more friendly and make more maybe announcement to use it for bikes. So at that moment, that's all I have. I'm keep working on it. There's actually another problematic area that there's residents of Brisbane that they do ride bike to work have brought up, and I think the jurisdiction of that area is South San Francisco, but we probably need to connect with them and try to address it, which is. You have a bike route that goes north on Bayshore, and then there is the off ramp of 101 to Bayshore, and then that crosses on that off ramp, and that's very scary. So that definitely needs to be revisited. We've done some work on it, but we really haven't fixed the problem. And I guess the other thing that we talked about it was. The loading zone when you enter the town, that is very close to the route, to the bike route.
Yeah, thank you for that. So, yeah, a lot of the ones we were familiar with, but also heard some other ones from you that, haven't really thought about as the priorities. Yeah, because I will say regarding Sierra Point Parkway, we are going to pursue a grant that's coming out this month. It's called the Bike Pedestrian Grant. It comes out every couple of years. It's with the SMCTA. So that's a perfect project to apply for that grant. And then regarding your findings, yeah, I mean, I haven't had a chance to review what you said because it came in, I think, just before this meeting. But yeah, I will review what you put together, and maybe I can maybe prepare next steps or with the findings, or maybe offer some direction. But yeah, that's really great that you've actually looked at all these different locations. So thank you for that.
And so you have on the deadline by the end of the year. So I guess my question would be, is the expectation for each individual to present their findings, or we just do, provide you with the work like I did and talk about it a little bit during the meeting?
I hadn't thought about that, but I think that's probably a good idea if one's more towards the end of the year, maybe December, November, where there's something more formal. I can let Moss speak on it.
Yeah, that was what I had originally envisioned, was that as we move forward with our meetings, that we kind of talk a little bit. We'll probably keep this as an item to check in on, and we'll move it to old business moving forward. And the goal would be to, yes, have our evaluations completed and discussed amongst the committee members by the end of the fiscal year, by the end of the calendar year, sorry. That was our intent.
Thank you.
You sure there wasn't anything else? Emily? Okay, could you scroll down a little bit so we can show my name on there? There we go, with Janice. And it was evaluate commercial truck circulation patterns and identify opportunities to improve freight mobility and safety. And Janice and I haven't had a chance to get together. So I believe she's on vacation. I'm not sure when she'll be back, but we plan on working towards coming up with something regarding this situation. But if I may, to Emily's work that she did regarding the vegetation and the impact on limiting your sight and your ability to be able to see approaching vehicles or people or whatever is happening. And I personally have been bringing places up that were real critical on the Crocker Trail intersection, where it intersects on West Hill, with the bushes, with the crosswalk there, even though there's a flashing light, or there on South Hill with the crosswalk, with vehicles coming down South Hill towards Valley at sometimes pretty high rate of speeds, taking that corner. The vegetation and whoever organized the work that was done on Main Street and Bayshore with limiting up the vegetation so you could see, I'm sure part of that had to do with trying to dissuade people seeking shelter that were living in those bushes and things like that, and people dumping garbage or whatever was done. But that was great work. But what that's done is that's allowed people to see people coming out of Main Street onto Bayshore before they're out onto Bayshore. And so I was hoping some of these areas could be done soon. And areas that are really critical are the fire department. A lot of traffic on Bayshore doesn't see them coming out until they're out to Bayshore because of the bushes that are on both sides of the entrance into the fire department's driveways. And, even though they're blasting the horn and they have their siren coming out, there's a lot of times that the traffic just doesn't stop. And I think a lot of it has to do with them not seeing the lights with enough time, because they're going 45 plus miles an hour down Bayshore. And also for the police departments, when they have to come out of the station, or anybody that's heading up Bayshore from Valley to make that left turn, but in your situation in particular, when you're not going to stop at the light if you're doing going somewhere, but those eucalyptus trees that are growing right there on the left side, as you look north, I mean, once again, you have to come out on the Bay Shore to see anybody that's maybe not going to stop coming down Bay Shore, which also happens a lot of the time. They try to beat out the light, and next thing you know, people are making a left turn. So, with that said, I was wondering if we can work on these areas that have these impacts with vegetation. And, you know, I'm not talking about removing trees. It's just like what you did on Main Street and Bay Shore. So,
Yeah, I mean, we can, we don't have to wait for some of the elements obviously may take more discussion and conversation, but things like this, if you have, we've taken note here, but if there's anything else you want to let us know, we'll work with our maintenance staff and prioritize those areas as they go through and address other landscape and vegetation needs.
yeah, it really makes a difference. And the thing about it is, the speeds that the cars come down, especially South Hill, where people are trying to cross at that crosswalk, it's actually, with a lot of the cars, as you know, you have now, you don't hear them coming. So I just would like to, I appreciate you, that you want to look at this, but is this something that, do we have to wait for the audit to?
No, I mean, yeah, for things of this nature that are more about, maintenance efforts like vegetation clearing, if you want to let us know as you go through, we can take a closer look at that. If you're looking at more, if we're looking at changes to traffic patterns, things of that nature, I think that would be something we would want to continue conversations.
So,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that, Maz. And so to Emily's things that she's come up with, like, one in particular is the crosswalk coming from the Silver Spot to cross to go down the stairs on San Francisco. Those bushes are so thick right there, people can't see people crossing that crosswalk until they're already coming around the corner from. So I was thinking if there were things that, because school is like starting up next week, if there were some real areas that you thought were the most critical.
You want me to send those over now?
Yeah.
Sure.
Is that okay,
I
Maz?
can send you our spreadsheet.
If it's.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We're happy to take that. And like I said, we can, we do monthly landscape and weed abatement is increased because of the weather patterns we've had. So we can work some of those things in and try to address some of the critical spots early on. Some of them, we can get through as much as we can get through. And there's no need to wait until we get through this full list. If we can check some of those things off, and we can integrate it in our existing operations, we're willing to do that.
Yeah, I can commit to connecting with you, Paul, this month after this meeting, sometime, just to, because I know you brought this up before, so can I think you mentioned a ride along once. That's just an idea, but something like that. So
Yeah, right along.
we can work something out.
That would work. Thank you. Okay. Anything else regarding this?
Do you want to see if there's any public comments on on this item?
Oh, yes, I would. Who had their hand up first? Chris?
I want to thank you, Christian, for stepping up on the bike audit. I'd like to add a few items from the perspective of being on the bike. Bayshore, 45 miles an hour, which is the ideal and we know is rarely actually honored, is a very difficult road for just a painted white line. Has to be a much more substantial class 4 level of protection, or, and I know this depends on what goes on in the Baylands, actually cultivating Tunnel Road as an alternative for that north-south, especially since there's access to Caltrain, which is what a lot of bicyclists are trying to do anyways to get on Caltrain. Bayshore south, south of Old County Road, we have a different opportunity there. Since there's hardly anything going on the east side of that road, and you have the complication of that off-ramp from 101, working with South San Francisco, we could cultivate a two-way bike lane on the other side of the street so that people could travel in both directions in a more fully protected Class 4, but two-way bike lane, so that once you got to Oyster Point, you could then make a safer left turn by using the crosswalks across. Mission Blue is on our map for having a bike lane. There's only a bike lane on one side of the street. Valley Drive is a road that you have to ride it to realize how unsafe it is. It's tremendously unsafe. I've almost gotten hit by a truck. He literally did not see me, even though I was 15 feet away from him, because he wasn't looking in the bike lane for anyone. And that's one of the big problems there. I think green paint, so that helps people understand, but also protection. This was a truck that was coming out of a driveway, I should clarify, and he did not see me coming. There's also significant grates on Valley Drive all the way along, and those are very dangerous for a cyclist to be riding along. On the comment on the bushes, I'll just do a little pedestrian thing here. If you're on the north side of the fire station and you're sitting in the bus stop, it's shelter, waiting for the bus cannot see you because of the shrubbery that's there. So if we clean that up, it would also help transportation, people using public transportation. And finally, the other day I was going from City Hall to a trip in the city, and so I was going to the 292. Getting from City Hall, you get to the corner of Valley Drive there, and you have a choice of continuing with the sidewalk on the south side of the street to get to Bayshore, but then you have to cross twice to get to the bus stop. So I walked on the other side of Valley Drive where there is no sidewalk,
No crosswalk.
no crosswalk. That slip lane is enormously dangerous, which I didn't realize until I was already on that slip lane. I really liked, and we have people using the 292 from Crocker Park. I think we should make it possible for people to safely get to the bus stop. Thanks.
Thank you. Oh.
Do you guys react to what was said, or do you wait till the end? You have a public comment at this time. Okay.
I'm just going to add some comments in terms of Chris's comments. You know, what I would say is I think many of you have visited Napa, you know, and they do have this nice bike lanes on both sides of the main streets. And here is, I mean, it's so stingy that it's super dangerous, you know, and this is like especially Bayshore. There's people coming from San Francisco, Daly City, and there's people going to the city from, you know, Brisbane and South San Francisco. My main point is a gateway to the big city and to the peninsula, and to have those very narrow bike lanes is with such a, you know, progressive city and et cetera. It's just don't see why. Why is that the case? If you go to a lot of other places, you will see nice sized bike rides. I mean, roads.
Thank you. Mia?
So I'll talk about the other thing later, but I did want to comment on the bushes. So particularly on San Bruno coming down the hill, so I guess that's going north. For the crosswalks that don't have a stop sign, there are bushes, and I'm sure you've recorded this, but just to add fuel to that fire, the bushes, they're kind of like palm trees that to go into the school, like to cross at Glen Park, basically. Seem like, I don't know, I feel like I've like slammed on the brakes a few times, like as people are coming out, because I didn't see them. And then at Klamath on San Bruno, there's like bushes there that like I didn't see people at first, you know. So nothing's ever happened, but it's just like a scary thing as you're kind of like coming down because it's a hill, and then you know you have to really like stop. So just want to make sure those are on the list. All right.
They are. Thank you, Mia.
Yeah, we'll make sure to capture those because we do meeting minutes and it'll be recorded. So.
Okay. That brings us to the Halloween street closure discussion.
Yeah, we have Caroline and Commander Garcia here. I will get the slide ready for them and then pass it over. Where did I put the slide? Oh, here it is.
Thank you so much, Tomas. And good evening, Complete Street Safety Committee members. It's an honor to be here with you tonight, be able to talk about some options for Halloween street closures. As you're aware, last year was the pilot year that Brisbane had planned street closures for Halloween, and it was due to the ideas of community members and the Complete Street Safety Committee to formulate a plan. I think it was August of last year, 2025, that this was before you on your agenda, and it quickly was turned into a recommendation to the City Council, and in September, that plan was adopted to try for what you see on the slide above is the pilot closure, which involved mostly the pie between Visitation and San Bruno, as well as San Bruno Avenue and the first blocks to the left is at Mariposa, Mendocino, and Monterey. And so we thought we would get started with this project, seeing that it was such a quick turnaround last year. In April, we went to City Council and just brought to their attention the various survey results. I see that, Paul and Chris here were manning some of the closure points during the pilot. And it was obviously a volunteer effort was needed for this. Jessica Loft was integral in having volunteers staff 9 different intersections. So we had 18 volunteers total, along with 5 youth advisory committee members that mostly were assigned to the alleyways within the closure. And the consensus was that the closures were a success. We had a survey for the residents as well as the volunteers that helped. And I know that volunteers were eager to help again this year from the results. Some of the issues that were noted in the surveys, though, were dangerous U-turns on Visitation Ave. Like I said, it wasn't closed. Lack of training for volunteers. There were a couple cars that needed to leave during the closure. One in particular had to be escorted by one of our motor officers, I believe, all the way up San Bruno in order to safely exit the closure. Rideshare coordination, it's something that we'd want to do more of this year. And also because San Bruno was closed and there was a lot of activity on the lower part, some trash was a result of the evening that was picked up by residents the next day. The proposed street closure for this year, we did, look at all them in their safety vests. They had wands, glow wands provided by the police department, as well as, the safety vests. And we had badges for them to just note the emergency dispatch number, as well as the lead volunteer coordinator, Jessica Loft's number, who was with Commander Garcia at the incident command post that was along the park. So this is before they set out to their various assignments. Their goal was to just make sure that the traffic, the W-2s that were used to close the street stayed in place, and to alert by calling Jessica if there were any incidents that needed police to respond to. And those, again, had to do with cars that needed to leave. I think there were 2. There was a couple Waymos that made their way into the closure. Instead, the police were integral in escorting these cars out. In last month's council meeting, we did have a recommendation based on last year's event and wanting to have there be a plan for every year. As it was a pilot last year, but I think the results were very evident that this is something that was going to happen year after year. And to make that possible, we wanted to have there be a plan that was feasible from our perspective. And the council wanted us to work with the Complete Street Safety Committee to formulate that, have 3 or 4 options to come back with in September to them. The recommendation was to just close those side streets between Mariposa and Klamath and leave Visitation and San Bruno open and have there be the 8 closure points. I think at the council discussion, if you were able to watch that meeting, there was points raised about, I guess, inundating the homes within the closure, of that being very concentrated with the trick-or-treaters, and those that are outside the closure may not feel as included. And so we have options B, C, and D to show as well. So option B adds on to the candy corn closure, I will call it, with the closure of Alvarado. Alvarado between San Bruno and Mariposa was kind of a bottleneck last year because it wasn't closed, and all the traffic that was trying to come down San Bruno was diverted to come down Alvarado. It's a really skinny street, as you know. There are people walking in it, cars driving down it. The volunteers that were stationed, I think the chief was at Alvarado and Mariposa. It was kind of chaotic. And so that's option B, is to add on the closure of Alvarado between San Bruno and Mariposa. Option C is building off of that. At the council meeting, there was also discussion about having that San Francisco Avenue or San Francisco Street be closed next to the park. It's closed for many different events, like Day in the Park, Festival of Lights. And so that adds on San Francisco Street up to Mariposa to be closed as well. Option D, lastly, fills in those streets, Mariposa, Monterey, and Mendocino between San Bruno and Alvarado. And so there's a total of, on the next slide shows 15 different closure points. So 8 being within the candy corn area, and then another 7 at each of the closure points on the added area. So that's the map that we shared with our a third-party enforcement company called LAS. The city's been exploring different projects with them, but last year the police department did have 2 officers stay on day shift and 2 officers come in early from night shift in order to cover that 6 to 8 closure period, with the shift starting and changing at 7 p.m. In light of, again, the road closures being something that we want to continue year after year, the police department feels it's prudent to start looking at outside resources to help staff this, because what if not all 4 of the scheduled officers are able to report in that evening? So we don't want to run into that situation and need to scramble at the last minute. So that would also, if police were not necessarily, say Mario again, Commander Garcia manning that incident command post and our officers there, that would be a cost that would be able to be extracted. And in the fiscal analysis in the staff report, it talked about how overtime for the police department amounted to about 11 hours or $1,200. With LAS, the parking enforcement officers that they would have on site, they would be at each of the closure points because they need to be able to communicate with their radios should something happen and have that safety, security, communication in place. So they would have to be staffed at each of the closure points, and we asked them for a quote of what it would cost to do this closure with their services, and it was $47 per hour. It would also entail, and then the closure being for those 2 hours. A project supervisor would be on site too, basically taking over the role that Commander Garcia had as like the incident commander. And then they have fixed fees for insurance, uniforms, travel. So a total of $4,000 for the third party to do this closure. Of course, if there were different streets that weren't closed, that would reduce that amount some. The other cost for this event had to do with door hangers. We did 2 rounds of door hangers, one for before the event, letting folks know in the closure area that this is happening on Halloween, because it was a Friday last year and people need to get home from work. So we were concerned about that. And then after the event, we did door hangers with the survey so that we could hear from those, especially within the closure area, how they felt it went. So we also, maybe I'll stop there and just see if there's any questions regarding the various options that I went through, A through D, and see if you have any questions that either myself or the team here can answer.
Yeah, and I'll open it up to the committee, but I just want to note that a lot of the agenda reports that Caroline, or all of the reports that she refers to, were in Sarah Mills' correspondence to the committee. So if you haven't got a chance yet, they're attached to that email, so you can see the specifics to the figures she's referring to.
Thanks, Tomas. Thanks, Caroline.
Of course.
If I may, we talked about when it was proposed that San Francisco be closed, to have something going on there on San Francisco. And we talked about how dangerous it was to leave San Bernardino Avenue open and having the streets across to Alvarado closed, with trick-or-treaters trying to cross San Bernardino Avenue, more than likely thinking that the whole area is closed like it was last year when they came. So I really think that the way we did it last year was the safest way to do it. And I think the impact as far as traffic trying to get around, and especially now that visitation has stop signs at every intersection, it's going to make visitation really safe, because last year we had a lot of people trying to make U-turns and having conflicts with pedestrians crossing the streets, especially in their costumes when they really have limited sight. But we went at great lengths to talk about how dangerous it was to have San Bernardino Avenue open and to try to cross to get to San Francisco for some kind of event, or a closure at San Francisco Street presented a problem. And now we're back to having something going on both sides of San Bernardino Avenue. So my feeling would be it was safest to go back to what we had. And then I think I counted, 14 when you had it, San Bernardino Avenue open, 14 different areas where people are going to have to be stationed from LAS, if LAS is our choice. So would that mean we wouldn't have volunteers like we had? Because I think we manned half of the street closures with volunteers. And me personally, I didn't want to say this because I got what you were getting at, as far as if an officer couldn't come in, then your plan to have officers available. But my choice would be to have our officers, even if it meant that we had to spend more money to cover the cost for the overlap and their overtime, because the community. I think it was a really nice opportunity for the officers to be out on Halloween with a lot of the local people sharing the evening together. So, I'm not a big talker, but my choice would be to have our officers here and to not keep San Bernardino Avenue open. I mean, and you having Alvarado closed is the main artery that allowed us to keep San Bruno Avenue open. I mean, closed to traffic by having Alvarado open last year between San Bruno Avenue and Visitation. But now it shows it closed. So, do you get it? What my preference would be?
Absolutely, absolutely. And if we could guarantee in perpetuity that we can have officers out there on Halloween, be great. But unfortunately, based on our staffing limitations, we don't always have the option to bring officers in. You know, obviously with vacations, trainings, the 2 was a stretch to get officers to stay. And even that, we were pretty thin. Should have, you know, anything happened where we would have to leave for a different call. And also, I think there's a need that, you know, it's Halloween. Officers also want to be with their families as well. And mandating them to come in, I don't think would be something that we would want to do that to the officers. Because obviously, it would be nicer to have officers, but you don't really need an armed police officer to close off a closure point. LAS, this is what they do best.
Okay, I get it. I mean, I don't want to inconvenience the officers, especially on Halloween with their little ones, but, you know, their kiddos will get over it.
Well, we
Okay,
try.
I didn't have parents go out with me. Okay, I was 6 years old out there with my pillowcase collecting candy. No, I'm kidding. I appreciate it. But yeah, but to that point, does that mean that Laz is going to be at all the places that are closed?
Absolutely. We've actually had conversations with Maz and Caroline and myself with with Laz, and they actually, this is what they do best. They are prepared to be at every closure point, and this is their wheelhouse. I mean, they do this probably better than us. So, and they can obviously, you know, redirect traffic if we needed to in an emergency, because they have their staff along with a supervisor, which would be their incident command post. Should we have to pivot due to an emergency, they can seamlessly interact through their communications level, through radios, and it's almost like having a whole nother police force, bigger than ours, because we're 16 total and they can bring out 14 in a heartbeat, and they actually work seamlessly with us. Laz also, I mean, works with South City, San Mateo.
Okay, thank you. Laz sounds great.
Yeah,
No, I get it. I
put you in good hands.
just thought it was a really great opportunity that you guys were out there last year, and it was notable as far as other community members talking about how good it felt. But I get the logistics of it.
Yeah,
So.
we would still be present. Don't get me
No,
wrong.
I got you.
We'd still be
Thank you.
there, so.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to add to that? Jose?
Well, for me,
Mike.
personal opinion,
Mike, please.
sorry. In my personal opinion, Halloween is the main event for the city in the whole year. So if there is something the city should be focusing all the attention on, is in this event. Honestly, I mean, there is nothing else compared to that. So I think that closing the streets was a great idea. And hopefully this is a learned experience and that it gets better every year.
Christian?
Oh yeah,
mean,
sorry.
it's-
Also, this is option A, but let me know if you want to see the other options. But this is just one of the 4.
Right. So, I mean, it's only 2 hours. I think if we have some sort of level of Brisbane PD here will be very appreciative. You know, you guys know a lot of the community. You guys know the community, the streets, et cetera, et cetera. You know, and then get Laz to, you know, fill whatever, you know, gap, but just not have Laz run by himself, obviously. Right. We would be present. And actually, by having Laz at the closure points, it would free our officers up to patrol up and down the street. So I have ran the command post last year. My officers were at fixed points at any given time, obviously because we couldn't drive up and down the street. But so that when we had an issue, I would have to radio my motor officer, who's the only person that can get into these streets, and it would take him a minute to get there. But if we gave him the ability to go up and down the street and patrol, we can actually physically be on patrol, and we would be there when they need us, much faster than we were last year. So, yeah, we would definitely be present. One consideration this year too is last year was a Friday. That Friday was busy, but also because it's a Friday, people were still coming home from work. People may not have gotten here. This year it's a Saturday. There is time to plan for an influx of traffic. And because there's an influx of traffic, we have to come up with a better plan that can accommodate the influx of traffic. And that's why we had proposed San Bruno being open. I understand San Bruno, obviously, it would be unsafe, but again, if my officers were available, they could patrol that up and down, even park a car, be in their cars to address any traffic issues.
Well, and to that point, that you brought up about San Bruno Avenue having to be open, then to Tomas's point, this plan here would be the best plan. Because you're not crossing San Bruno Avenue, you don't have streets closed off between San Bruno Avenue and Alvarado, and you're not directing people out to San Francisco Street to do something that's closed. Is that right, Tomas? Is that what we see here?
Yeah, exactly.
So absolutely, if I could add to that. So when this went to council, last council meeting, there was comments that they wanted to expand this more. Obviously to encompass if you're going up San Bruno to the left side of San Bruno to encompass those homes. That's why you see on option D, we encompass that because there was a want to encompass that, and we can accommodate that. But we would have to just close off Alvarado, which Alvarado became the unintended issue that we did not see that night. Surprisingly, when cars made it into Brisbane, they see the 5 points and they saw the closures, they all made a left to go to Alvarado instead of going up Visitation, because the Visitation is naturally impacted with people and traffic. So they thought they can go faster down Alvarado, which my chief saw along with other volunteers. We're going to effectively cut that off. So it was by leaving San Bruno open and Visitation, it would actually give vehicles a way to ingress up and down Visitation and San Bruno. If they needed to get closer to their home because they live on the upper streets that's closed, they can get the car closer. During that incident command post that for this last year, there was a resident that lived on Mendocino, 3 bags of groceries, and we had denied her access, and she unfortunately had to walk all the way up the street. But if San Bruno's open, she can at least get closer to San Bruno, at least maybe have people meet her there and grab her groceries and find parking. But because we had San Bruno closed last year. Last year, I'm sorry. It made it difficult, but so we want to give the opportunity for people to get closer, or at least go up and down Brisbane. So I mean that's why we proposed San Bruno being open, because the traffic this year could be a lot more than last year. I'm almost guaranteed it's going to be a lot more because it is a Saturday. And there also is a need this year to make sure that our officers are free, because I think last year we got lucky. Halloween generally is a busy time for every city. If something happens in South San Francisco or Daly City on our side of the hill, they normally need help and we go, and vice versa. And we were able to stay in our community, which we loved, and it was a success. But moving forward, we want to make sure that we are prepared for any of that. Should anything happen, if we had an incident at the marina and we all had to go to the marina, or at least armed officers had to go to the marina, we could do that. And by having laws in place, they could run this easily. So, I mean, I'm looking at, the closure, and I live here, and I've been looking at it for a little while already, and I'm still not clear, especially, following your comment, it's a Saturday. A lot of people from the outside are going to come. I think last year there was an officer asking questions, do you live here? If they don't, are they going to be sent to an area to park? But just walk me through, let's say a person goes into Visitation, which is a party street. A lot of the businesses, they are open to engage in Halloween activities. So a car is driving there, and how is it going to get out if that person doesn't live in Brisbane?
Well, if they go up visitation and they can't get out, they have to go all the way up. They can go all the way to the Alvarado. Alvarado is actually open on the higher end, so they can cross over Alvarado, go hit San Bruno, and go south on San Bruno if they really need to get out that way. But it gives the main egress and ingress points of vehicles open. I think Caroline mentioned.
It shows Alvarado closed.
I'm sorry,
Klamath.
that's Klamath, right?
They can
Mapped
still
off.
go up visitation to Alvarado.
Yeah, the map is off. So Alvarado, someone would go up visitation all the way to Alvarado, then Alvarado Street would be open on the higher streets up there.
So Alvarado would be your way out from visitation, and then you go all the way down, and then you hop in either, I mean, if you could exit by San Bruno.
Right.
South.
And then San Bruno, you can go, either north or south on San Bruno.
Yeah, got it, okay.
So, I mean, and that's what we had run into last year. When someone had to exit, I think they were like mid-block Mendocino, and they literally, mid-block Mendocino, they went towards San Bruno, and then the mid-block Mendocino to San Bruno is a long stretch, let alone having to go down a whole street with pedestrians on San Bruno to either the 5 points or out of the closure. So by keeping San Bruno open, should there someone need to be leaving on mid-block of Monterey, Mendocino, Mariposa, it would be a short stretch to get them to the San Bruno, and then they would be out on their own at that point. And that's what we ran into, what do you call it? Your rideshare Waymos. They are generally programmed to go through the main ingress and egress points. And because we had San Bruno closed, we literally had to open one end so we can usher this Waymo out because it didn't know how to go anywhere else. So with San Bruno and visitation being open, I think we can alleviate all that traffic flow issues.
So the streets that are closed, they are closed, but if they live there, and that's when the officers come in and they sort of help them go into their homes. Is that what it is, or
Well,
they have to?
We emphasize that during that closure that we don't let them into the closure, but if you needed to get out and there was an emergency, we would let them out. So, but I think we had plenty of messaging last year that for 2 hours, if you don't get home in time, you're just gonna have to park down the street and walk in. If you're coming home. Now, if you were in your home and you needed to get out, they could call the command post. We would evaluate the situation and we can get them out. And that's what we did last year. It worked, but because again, San Bruno was closed, it took a whole officer to get them through that closure points.
So going back to visitors, is the expectation is to have some officers, note that if these are visitors, to reroute them to park some area, or they're gonna, cruise all visitation and then do all that route? Because some people like to cruise.
Yeah, I think we would try to
discourage that.
catch those that are coming into town on Old County and catch them almost at Bayshore. Like, are you here for Halloween? Like, let them know that there's parking at the old Bank of America lot. We had overflow parking available there last year, as well as in the Brisbane Village Shopping Center. That property manager allowed that. And we had posted, event parking, overflow parking here. The churches both allowed it, as well as the post office. And so we would try to get them as close to coming into town as possible to just park instead of them coming into town up Viz. But there's also the church at the top of Viz. They have 11 spots in there. The Catholic Church has spots. So we would partner again with those properties to make sure that we can have event parking available and make it very clear in our messaging of where they can get parking, get there early and get parking.
Yeah, actually, haven't been at the command post at the 5 points. Jessica Loft was there with me. A lot of the visitors actually parked on Park Avenue or Park Place, and they were walking in. I think they know over and over that, Halloween and our streets are busy, and a lot of people were walking in. And there was a testament to that because during the end of the event, poor Jessica and Captain America had to cross everybody because they were all going to parking who were parked in the industrial area. So the cars that we had issues with that were going up visitation and Alvarado were not visitors. They were residents trying to get around it or go to their home. And like you said, they wanted to cruise. So they, instead of going to visitation, they made a left to see everybody else pile. I don't know, but a lot of the vehicles were not visitors. A lot of the visitors actually parked along Park Avenue and Park Place. And I think we had signs that day, and I think it worked well.
Right, City Hall Annex, that's overflow parking as well. We made sure to message that.
Yeah. And actually, I was, obviously within line sight of
Yeah.
the post office, the skate park. There was actually still plenty of parking. So again, I think an influx of visitors that day were low, but this year could be higher. So because it is Saturday.
Do we know, are they doing any event in the community park?
Not that I know of right now. And that was something I was going to ask about San Francisco Street. If that wasn't closed, that could be more parking.
Yeah,
So that's a consideration.
it was proposed last year, an event in the park, but it ultimately didn't happen. So I haven't heard of any event happening this year.
If anything, we have the farmer's market and there's a food truck there that they would be interested if we wanted to invite them on Halloween, that they would come. So there could be something for families if they wanted to get something on Halloween. And it's kind of what people are used to already. The restrooms are right there at the community park as well, which we would have signage so people know. And lighting, that came up too as another consideration for this year to make better. The intersections that were a little dim last year would have, I think it's similar to construction lighting, right, Maz, that they have, Public Works has the ability to roll those out at those intersections. I think near Madhouse, it's a little dim. And if people are parking the overflow parking at the Bank of America lot, it can be a little dim crossing over Old County, so.
Yeah, those are, the lights we're talking about are kind of construction lighting that would be on a generator that we could pop up in different spots. I think we have, I don't know how many we have. I think we have 2 of them. One for sure. I think we have 2. So we would be looking at utilizing those in specific locations just to help with visibility.
Thank you, Maz. Emily?
So, I don't know where to start. This event is supposed to be community building, right? Would you all agree that that's what this is for? We want to make it something that is a annual tradition, that everybody feels like they're included, no matter what street you live on. Something that we're known for, and people come to us, come to Brisbane for Halloween because they know it's going to be safe for them and their kids. And I'm listening to everything that's being said, and I'm thinking, okay, well, the Brisbane Police Department feels overwhelmed. They want to be free to float. Great. LAS, 4,000, that's nothing with the, $89 million budget the city has. Go for it. That's great. If that's what frees up the police to float and do that, more power to you. You can bring in, police officers from San Francisco or South San Francisco or Daly City that are off shift and ask them if they want to work some overtime. There's loads of ways to bring in officers or non, armed officers if that's really the concern. But my bigger concern is, why are we shrinking this? Why are we making it smaller? It's not making it safer by opening San Bruno. And, the council asked the committee to put together some options, and I'd like option A to be the one that was last year. I'd like that to remain as option A. I'd like option B to be, let's close the whole city down so we only have 2 streets we got to block off at, Old County Road and San Bruno. If that, it's something that, it's 2 hours. We asked for 5:30 to 9:30 last year. It's 2 hours once a year. You guys did a great job of marketing and letting the community know. That will happen again, I'm sure. It's 2 hours. Hopefully a little more than 2 hours this year, because I heard from the council, watching the council, that some people were complaining about the block parties, I call it that, the community getting to know each other and really having fun and enjoying their community. That needs to continue. We need to keep, supporting that and building more of that. And so if you need to have an extra half hour before the 6 to 8 or after the 6 to 8 to allow people really to clear the streets, then so be it for safety. But it's not that much time. It's not that big of an inconvenience. I feel sorry for the woman who had to get her groceries, but she had a door hanger. She had lots of signage. She knew that we were going to be closing those two. She could have gone grocery shopping earlier in the day. She could have gone grocery shopping a different day. And I'm on Mendocino, and I don't recall any cars because I was out passing candy, leaving down our street to San Bruno because I'm on the Mendocino to San Bruno side. So I'd like, because the council asked the committee to put together the maps, I'd like the committee to approve the old map to be option A. Option B could be option D from Caroline, because if you don't close down Mariposa between San Bruno and Alvarado and Mendocino between San Bruno and Alvarado, those streets, those residents are going to ask for it to be closed, just like they did last year. And in your picture that you shared, Caroline, it's Mendocino between San Bruno and Alvarado. They're having a block party, just like they have for the last few years. So they're going to close anyway, and you're going to be, back-footed because Laz is going to be like, well, you added 2 more streets to us because your residents closed it down and you didn't. So if you look at all the petitions that we went door to door and asked the neighbors to sign, if they wanted to do this on an annual, San Bruno has enough residents that said they would close it down. There were enough residents on Plumas and San Francisco that, were included, Alvarado as well. If you look at the survey results from the 86 people who wrote in and surveyed, I think 1, 2 had something negative to say. The rest said, this is great and you should expand it. So I think option 3 should be we close down visitation and we go to the other side and we include everybody on the other side. I really think that it should be something that becomes known. This is for Brisbane. And if Laz is going to be our support for traffic control, great. It's actually less intersections for them to man if you close down San Bruno and you close down visitation. So I'm really struggling with this one because it's something for the kids and the families, and I'm thinking I feel like people have lost sight of that, and we're worrying about the pennies, the cost of it. There are other ways to get money. I'm sure residents would gladly donate to pay for coverage of, police officers over time or Laz or whatever it ends up being. So I want to make sure we're staying focused on the community and what the community wants, which is, if you look at the surveys, if you look at the petitions, before and after, they want more. They don't want less.
Yeah, I think if you ask a lot of the businesses in visitation, they would definitely agree to close that street.
Melissa's Taqueria owner, he signed the petition saying close it. He'd love it. So talking to Juan up at the Star City Salon, he hands out candy when he's working. He'd love it. So it's something that I don't feel like we should shrink it. We should make it less. We should make it more.
Well, I wanted to make sure that we were done here first. Chris, you chomping at the bit? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We could crisscross.
I'm chipped. Okay. Jose, anything to add?
I totally agree with what Amy said. If there is a plan to close the whole town for 2 hours in that date, I will just go for it. We'll vote for it.
Yeah, I think so. If I understood Emily correctly, closing visitation San Bruno is going to require less officers, and it just feels for 2 hours is not a big ask. So I will ask Commander Garcia what is his feeling about that in terms of traffic circulation, safety, et cetera, et cetera.
So obviously, it went well last year, and I heard everybody's comments, and so shrinking it wasn't about shrinking the event. It was about relieving the unintended traffic flow in Alvarado. So having heard the committee tonight, just talk to Maz, we can adopt the closure that we have up here, and we would close San Bruno as well. Keep San Bruno closed, visitation open, any vehicles that come through 5 Points goes up Visitation, and that would relieve any traffic because we close off San Francisco and Alvarado. And that way, no arterial streets get bombarded with people that are freaking out trying to get home. Right. So-
And I would say that the fact that we have the new stop signs on Visitation is going to make a big difference this year with, because, and if, regardless of who we use for traffic control, I would like to still have the volunteers like we did to supplement, the eyes for the kids crossing,
Absolutely.
especially at Visitation.
Oh, absolutely. It was never the intention to not use volunteers. I mean, obviously, we will take all the volunteers we can get.
Yeah.
We just wanted to put a plan in place with a third-party vendor that we could rely on yearly. Some years maybe less on volunteers. And we can, the 5 Points could have easily used 6 to 7, 8 volunteers to cross all those crosswalks. So we can definitely do that. The Napa Alley was also an unintended issue that we didn't know that we had to close off as well, because cars within that pie were using that to go up and down to Friends. So we can use that as a closure as well, using volunteers. And, I'm not sure if anybody's been through the Fog Fest, but, for the positions, the volunteers that didn't have a closure point, they can be safety monitors and just walk around. So should there be someone that, they see that needs help, they can call it in to another command post person like Jessica Law for the volunteers, and then we could dispatch resources to them. So by all means, the opening San Bruno was not a means to shut it down. It was just a means to get traffic to where we needed it. But having talked to Maz, we can easily accomplish that still by shutting down San Francisco so that vehicles did not go down Alvarado. They just went up Visitation. Visitation may bottleneck, but then seeing that bottleneck, if I was coming through into Brisbane around the old county and I saw that bottleneck, I'd make a right to go to Park Avenue because I'm not going to go up the street. So absolutely, we can adopt that and we can support that.
Okay, so there was a motion to go with our plan. So are we talking about our plan like we did last year, pretty much?
It would basically be this right here, what you're seeing up there, but San Bruno would be closed as well.
And I appreciate that. I do want to give the public a chance to comment as well, so.
Okay. So,
Do we have anyone online, Tomas?
We do have one resident attending. Alex, yeah, I can promote you to panelist, and you should be allowed to talk. Maybe want to test out your mic right now. You're muted currently, but now you're not.
Hello.
Yes, we hear you loud and clear.
Hi, everyone. This is Alex Borton. Thank you so much for all of the hard work that you guys have done thinking through this. I appreciate the conversation. I also have my 6-year-old daughter, Rosie, here with me. I think she just wants to share her thoughts. You want to say how much you want streets closed? Okay, she says she wants the streets closed. I want to thank Emily for raising the, I think, important perspective that this is really about community building, and I am certainly in favor of like more closures versus less. Hold on. Yeah, okay. I think I would also just like to share as the chair of the IDEA committee, I think reflecting on the idea of inclusion and how we can really be opening this event up to more members of the community. I have the benefit of living on Mariposa and Inyo, so last year's closure was like where we would trick or treat naturally. But I think if we do want to make this a community event and invite others that don't live on the closure area, having more space would be better than less, as it was pretty crowded last year. And so just, creating more opportunities. I think also the idea of having San Francisco closed creates an interesting opportunity for people that might want to hand out candy to be able to set up there, which is another way to just increase inclusion and access for those that aren't on the route. So really appreciate all the work that you guys are doing, and for what it's worth, I'm in favor of the more closures, the better, just to make this as big and inclusive an event as possible.
thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, I echo what Alex said. I really appreciate all the thought. And I know it's a logistic challenge that creates a lot of need for teamwork and collaboration. So I'm glad we're talking about it so early. I know it speeds up with school starting and then all of a sudden it's Halloween. I live on Monterey between Alvarado and San Bruno. And last year we took our kids out on Mendocino. So we kind of went around Alvarado, which wasn't closed, but it was basically closed because there were volunteers set up. A lot of people were sitting on the street passing out candy. It's a narrow street, so there wasn't a whole lot of traffic that I could see. So it's kind of like almost closed, but it would have been nice if it was official. And then, we went up Mendocino and we actually crossed Visitation onto the part of Mendocino between Visitation and Solano, even though it wasn't closed, just because we wanted to keep going. And then we came back down Monterey, I think, which is our street. So that was kind of our natural loop. And for me, it was nice that San Bruno was closed. It felt a lot safer. And it just put my mind at ease. I've lived at the same house on Monterey Street in that spot for 10 years and passed out hundreds of pounds of candy over the years. It's usually never enough when we buy a 15-pound bag from Costco. It's like, we have to get two. But yeah, then I came home and I really wanted to support the event, and my family went over to a party on our street, and I kept passing out candy. I passed out candy to ensure there was coverage on our end of the street. And I saw more people participating on our block than ever before. And I think there was just a really it kind of harkened back to the time that I think I've seen pictures in City Hall of people in Brisbane in costume, in the 40s or whatever, when it was just a small town with dirt roads, and it was a lot more chill, not a lot of traffic to worry about. But I think, we've always been known for Halloween and being a safe place to come to. And, along with the inclusion piece, it's maybe people from more urban communities outside of Brisbane who come here, this is their chance to give their kids that experience. Or it's a very innocent, thing that they can feel safe and do something a little adventurous. My 2-year-old at the time, she just loved being able to walk on the street by herself a little bit. I didn't hold her hand the whole time. She just kind of went ahead, and of course she was right there. But it just was nice for her to have a little freedom. Of course I was right behind her, but yeah, some people set up, this one family set up a tent with a glow room on the street, and it was just really fun for the kids to go through that. And people got so creative, more than they ever have, I feel because we made it an official event. So I've been in favor of closing Alvarado. I think San Francisco's a good idea, at least that section that you have on this map. That's not really an area where there's maybe there's a little bit of parking, but there's not a ton of parking on that one block. So it's not we're losing a whole lot because you can't really park on that part of the park. So I don't think that's a huge loss. It would be great if Visitation was blocked, but I hear you about the logistics of that, and with the stop signs, maybe we could give that up. But maybe if Solano was blocked, and then people could go the full loop and then be on a part of Mendocino and Mariposa and Monterey that goes up to Solano, that would be awesome, and then they could connect on that side. So yeah, I would definitely. My thought after last year was I wanted more coverage, more closures. I think that would definitely spread out the candy pressure. I know it's kind of a term that's been coined because it does get really concentrated in our area. So, but yeah, these are the streets, the best streets in Brisbane, just because they're in the little flat part and they're known for Halloween. But more people do want to participate because they decorate their homes and they're excited to share. So yeah, I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. I should have said that. So we're very much looking forward to Halloween and appreciate all the thought and into the safety and the fun of it. So thank you.
Anybody else? Yes?
Hi, my name's Denise. I live on Monterey next to Mia, and I had a big party last year, and it was a great success.
What's your address?
161. So first, I would refer to Brisbane PD with the utmost respect of their logistics and their force and what they can offer. The prospect of having a third party who, Mario, you said that's their specialty. So have they been consulted about mapping anything?
Well, we control the mapping and they just augment closures. So their forte is closing and keeping things closed and open things up in a unilateral command when they need it. As far as closures, that's what we give
Mapping
them direction.
is
Yeah,
what-
they
yeah,
don't,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we do the mapping.
Okay,
yes.
okay. It felt, to me, Alvarado on our cross street, having that open felt good because there was some ability for movement. I loved having San Bruno closed. I'm questioning Visitation's closure because when you get up to the top, you know, it's kind of the end of Halloween, right? There aren't as many houses up there that are participating, maybe because some of the kids aren't wanting to go up there.
You're lazy.
No, they're
Don't
not.
say that.
Yeah, anyway. So, I am no expert in mapping or logistics that way, but for me, with having my cross street being Alvarado, it was great for me. The one thing that maybe someone mentioned, Maz, possibly, is really bright lighting on the open streets. Not so much on the closed streets, right? But as far as, you know, Public Works would light up the open streets, I think would be optimal. Because there was some, a little bit of, not issue, but just a little bit of fear with some of the kids not understanding, okay, I can walk on this street, but I can't walk on that street. So, you know, and that's up to the parents to control. But lighting up the open streets, I liked that Alvarado was open. And I think that was all my points there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? See?
I'm so short. So I just want to remember that this is the Complete Streets Safety Committee. I have really mixed feelings about this plan. The pilot demonstrated without a doubt that the streets of Brisbane are not safe for children. That's our first problem. Why we're focusing on making them safe one night out of the year is troubling to me. I'd like to see if we could figure out a way to extend that to the other days of the year. I heard the city council meeting, and keeping San Bruno closed seems to me to present a lot of risks. Commander Garcia spoke really well at that meeting about the things that they faced with having the traffic diverted onto Alvarado. At least San Bruno has sidewalks. Alvarado, I take walks up there frequently. The cars, if there is a sidewalk, the cars are parked on it, and you have to walk in the street. And if the traffic's diverted onto Alvarado, it's a very dangerous situation. One of the things Commander Garcia said, which I really took seriously, was we were very lucky. We were very lucky that night that his staff didn't get called away, that we didn't have an incident. And I think we need to keep that in mind, that we were lucky. 2 hours on a Friday night and not getting called away, that's remarkable. Incidentally, City Council was talking about extending it to 3 hours. That didn't get mentioned. And as one of the volunteers from last year, I want you to know it was pretty exhausting, the adrenaline level you had to maintain for 2 hours. I was topped out at the end of 2 hours. One of the things Frank Kern said that I thought was really interesting was all of Brisbane, he suggested that we treat the event this way. All of Brisbane is open. The candy corn is what's car-free. Of course, we'd have to modify that because it's not really car-free, it's just car-restricted. Because that also extended this sense of community beyond whatever streets were closed. And one thing that we didn't talk about tonight is the reopening process. It sounds like Laz could make that a little bit safer. It was really terrifying last year when it came time to reopen the streets because the kids didn't get it. They were enjoying being in the streets. And it was really tough. And I was at Klamath and Visitation. And so we were on the border. And there was a guy across the street on Visitation outside of the boundary. He had his garage door open and he was handing out candy, and the kids were just not paying attention that they were leaving the safe area. So having this very clear is really important. And I'm wondering if we can borrow some more of those construction lights from our neighbor cities to see if we can get a few more of those. There's another comment that was made at the city council that I'd just like to share with you because, we have a spirit of volunteerism, but I want to really be careful when we start to exploit that sense of when we expect volunteers to do things up and above beyond what we should expect. And the idea was that we'd have a map that would indicate, and people could pay to be on the map, much like they are for the garage sale. Not a good idea in my mind, but I'll just share that with you so you understand some of the dynamics that are underway. And I think that's it. Thanks. Oh, and maybe we could do a check of the streetlights to see if any of them are out in advance of that and get those fixed, if that's the case. Thanks.
So, Chris, to your points about the safety issues, those were issues that we brought up last year about opening the streets to unsuspecting trick-or-treaters, that the street's now open. And I know that they did go down and let people know that the street was being opened, so it wasn't like we just opened the ends of each street. Each street was methodically walked through and then opened. But to your point, it doesn't restrict everybody that continues to trick-or-treat, thinking that the streets may be still closed. And I wasn't sure if there was anything that really stood out to, like, you thought it wasn't safe to where we shouldn't be doing this. And I get that point about the officers being lucky that nobody got called out. So that kind of supersedes any reasonable expectation that you would be there as far as Brisbane police. For that reason alone, I could see that it put some pressure on the department. But were there factors that you felt were a safety concern as to you would think that we shouldn't be doing this?
Absolutely not. It actually, there, aside from the unintended traffic on Alvarado and San Francisco, it went great. I mean, everyone felt safe. There was no one that didn't feel safe to walk on the street. But, lesson learned, and people didn't see it, but myself at the command post and my officers saw it, and along with my chief, that Alvarado became, for whatever traffic there was, it became a highway for them, and it was difficult. So should it be the direction of the Safe Streets Committee to close San Bruno, we would say it would have to be paired with a closure of Alvarado and San Francisco as well. So if you close San Bruno, we close it all. And that just limits vehicles so that we don't have that issue anymore.
If I can comment, as a member of the Complete Street Safety Committee, I think besides this being a main event for Brisbane, Halloween is bigger than probably any other event, as Moreno mentioned, we are doing this for safety. What was the alternative? Did you leave it as it was before? I mean, not have any closures? Is that safer than having closed streets? So I'm a little puzzled in the sense.
I'm not saying I'm not in support of this. I'm sorry if I didn't, I can see now, reflecting on what I said, that it sounds like I'm against the idea of closing the streets. I'm not. As you know, I volunteered to help do that last year. I just want to make sure that the configuration that we use actually doesn't create the possibility of something bad happening. That's all. And I'm concerned about San Bruno being closed because of what happened on Alvarado last year.
Can I have one more thing to remember? I think there's something really valuable, although it was a pilot last year, to having the same thing consistently, so people learn it, and when we're changing it up, if we could keep it the same and it worked well, then I think there's some value in that.
Yeah, I think that, you know, San Bruno, Alvarado, San Francisco, I agree with you, Commander Garcia, that if you close one, you close them all, right?
Absolutely.
So I think you know, that's something that I would be in favor with. The other thing I'm thinking about listening to the comments is, you know, if they're having parties, how do you know, if kids don't want to leave, you know, we've said 8. I know last year we suggested 5:30 to 9. The council, you know, decided against that. I'd probably propose doing 5:30 to 9 again, just to give Laz or whomever it is, the volunteers, time to, 1, get set up, and 2, then start ushering kids back on, families back on the street, or parties, whatever it might be. And if you have a Mendocino between San Bruno and Alvarado, or Mariposa between San Bruno and Alvarado, if they themselves put in petitions again this year, they don't have to abide by the 6 to 8. They've put in for the night. And so how does that work? I'm wondering, from your perspective, if we do have streets that do it on their own, above and beyond, what does that get us?
Well, if they do it above and beyond on their own, then obviously, based on the permit that was approved, then they could keep it closed.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, on that, I mean, I would say that for an event, for something like that, they would go through a permitting process. So we would take a close look and see how that would impact and work with the rest of the closures. Obviously, it would be challenging if we're looking at, I'm not saying specifically, but we would look at each one of those individually as its own application and see how it works with what we're planning to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, those hours could be different. And, you know, we would obviously look at, blocks where you're not looking at collector streets. So if, you know, somebody wanted to propose something on on Visitation or San Bruno as a separate event, that would be something we would, take a close look at and likely not be able to support unless it's part of the bigger event. So if that helps.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, again, keeping safety in mind, and also supporting the community. Extending the hours just alleviates both potentials from streets trying to, residents on their own trying to put in and do their own thing.
I mean, if that's what the committee wants to recommend, it's something we can certainly take back to the city council with respect to that. I will also add that I know that our police force did, we didn't advertise it, but we did delay the opening a little bit to give folks a little bit more time to disperse. So I think that was also something, where I think we, just because it, hit that certain time, it's not like we just, all right, that's it, we're opening everything up. I think there was a little bit of a delay to allow those openings to happen and let some of those stragglers to find other locations. But that was, we'll still informally do that. I mean, we're not going to open the street if we feel like it's unsafe. I think, and that's the one thing I just wanted to highlight that's really shifted this year from last year is having the third party company in place really allows the officers and other staff and the volunteers to focus more on the resident experience, but also help remind folks, you know, when we're doing this opening, you're not trying to open it and tell people that we're opening it, right? I mean, it's going to be really defined scope where you can have professionals just doing the openings up afterwards, and you have more individuals that are going to be able to go and try to help with folks that maybe aren't paying attention because they're having such a great time, to let them know that this is happening. So I think this approach, if seeing that it'll, you know, relatively cost, from the cost perspective, it's relatively inexpensive and doable, and I think it just provides that additional layer of oversight that I think that, from what I've heard from tonight and from conversations with our police department, that was something that they were worried about. Was we got through it this time. This gives us that better peace of mind that we have a lot of boots on the ground and a lot of control over the opening up of the streets ultimately.
Great, because again, you know, Halloween will come back to a Friday night eventually. So, you know, we'll be here again.
And in regards to the opening, we transitioned to a soft opening, and I don't know if people forgot, but we actually ran a patrol car with lights on through those streets before we opened it. Like committee chair member Paul said, if they decide to go back on the street, they go back on the street, and that's kind of what happened because they weren't quite done. And who knows when they're going to be done? But we did make a sweep of each street. Each officer made a sweep before we even opened it. At least with Laz manning the closure points, we can now also utilize volunteers to come down with their flashlights and say, streets opening up, along with us leading it with police car. And then I don't know how much more we can do at that point.
No, I think it's great.
Right? So, I mean, we can augment that soft closure with volunteers. I mean, walk in the block and be like, hey, we're opening up, get off get on the sidewalk. So we can definitely do that this year.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay, so do we need to take a vote on which plan or?
Yeah, so do we need to take a vote now? And in terms of the timing, you know, I think 2 hours is it doesn't, in my mind, define the effort, you know, at least 3 hours. I mean, you know, you're gonna have all these activities around it just for 2 hours. It's a Saturday, and also having a 2-hour event. People are saying, oh, this is just to be there quickly, and then I'm gonna go plan for the real party. But when it's 3 hours, oh, you know, it's a good amount of time, and I could enjoy myself.
Good point. Thank you, Christian. I like that. Do you like that, Waz? You like that? 3 hours?
I mean, I think, Christian, committee member Cabrera said it well. I mean,
Yeah.
we're already going through a lot of the effort.
Yeah.
It is a slightly, you know, additional cost, but you're not doubling the cost. It's incremental, right? So if that's where the committee would like to propose, ultimately it's up to the city council to make that determination on the cost with respect to the benefit that this event provides. But I mean, that is certainly within your purview to recommend those modifications.
Well, I think that's a great idea. So, and I like the idea about what we've talked about regarding the closures. So do we need to take a vote?
We do need to make a motion, but I think I have another clarifying question for Maz, Mario, and Caroline. My understanding from the city council meeting is that they wanted, I think, Caroline, you said like 4 to 5
3 to
options?
4, yeah.
Do they really want that many options, or can we just give them one and say this is
Yeah.
it?
They did specify to come back with a few so that they could choose one. But like you said, it could be option 1 could be last year's closure. Option 2 could be
This modified D,
this modified D, and then option 3 I heard
close the whole city?
close.
See what they say?
But the time we just spent and the effort we spent to try to come up with a plan that was reasonable and safe
Yeah.
is what they should be looking at as far as our recommendation with one choice.
So I will comment that if the last year's closure, the caveat is that we don't feel comfortable leaving Alvarado open. So
Right.
if we,
Right.
that would be that could be one of the options. We wouldn't recommend just copying last year's.
No,
Yeah.
no, I mean, what we just talked about as far as this closure that we've talked about,
Yeah.
the revised closure.
And that's why I'm asking, like, can we just give them one? Because if we
Okay.
give them last year as an option, for safety reasons, Commander Garcia, the team, Maz, you guys don't like it for safety, right? There's, Alvarado becomes congested. I get that. I want to respect that. If we offer A, B, or C, you're going to have residents who are going to petition anyway. So you're going to close down some of those streets anyway. So then you're going to leave with San Bruno, which in my mind is the most dangerous crossing for lighting reasons, for car reasons, speeds of cars, no stop signs, etc. So why are we giving them a bunch of options when the safest is what we've kind of all together collaboratively come to at this point?
It is nice to have we've discussed it and shows that everyone talking about the options and the safety nailed down this one. So we
Yeah,
can
well,
just,
we could let them know that, if you could let them know that this was the only option that was really viable. And moving forward should be, to others' points about what people expect for next year. I like what we came up with tonight.
right. Would you like to suggest a time for it?
Yeah, I think I think the motion should be that we offer, if we have to give them options, last year's model, because we know they're gonna reject it, because you guys are gonna reject it. Candy corn, because we're gonna reject it, and then this one with the modified with San Bruno, because that's the one we're gonna point them at. So, and then I would say, again, I run out of candy at like 7:30, and we give out regular sized candy bars. There's a lot of people out there.
What's your address?
Mendocino.
Exactly.
But hey, Jose does too. So by the way, so it really is something that we all get into. But I want it to say safe, and to me, if it's 3 hours, in my mind, it was more along the lines: how do we safely end it? Right? Like, yes, now my little one's getting older, so we're not going out at 5:30 anymore because she's getting older and can stay up later. But there are still families who have 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds who want to get dressed up and go at 5:30 because they got to go to bed at 7, right? And so if the timing is part of that, safety for the littles, but also considering the older, young adolescents, teens, families, party at her house and other houses, like how do we, look at that and go, what's a good timing to also accommodate you all as the city to make sure it's a safe opening? So I don't know if it's 3 hours. I don't know if it's the 2 hours plus a half hour here and 15 minutes here.
I think, yeah, the timing is, I think the timing can help, but I will also point to the fact that we will have extra bodies. So that factor in itself is really going to help with the opening up as well, where our volunteers and our police officers won't have to do the physical opening. We'll have that done as with the professionals, and so we'll have additional oversight, more eyes out in the field with that. So I think that coupled with looking at some extended hours, I feel my professional opinion that it's going to be a much smoother operation, just knowing that we have more people, and on top of that, if you add a little bit more time, I think there is just going to be more. It'll be a better functioning operation.
So we're saying option D, but adding San Bruno to be closed and from 8 to 9.
From what time to what time?
I'm sorry, 6 to 9. So option D, but we're adding San Bruno to be closed. And then time 6 to 9. Is that what we're saying?
5:30 to 8:30 or 5:30 to 9, just to give everybody time. And then again, consistency going forward, depending at no matter what day Halloween falls on, to just so everybody, it just becomes a routine for people to know,
probably 5:30 to 8:30 to allow for the younger families to get out earlier and
Yeah, I
more
mean,
daylight.
just 3 hours. I'm
Good.
thinking the time could vary. In
Mhm.
my opinion.
On the weekends, 5:30 to 8:30. Halloween on a weekday, maybe 6 to 9 to allow the people that work to get home. That was the main concern for the weekday Halloween closure, starting it at 6. 5:30 to 8:30? Is that
Sounds good.
okay?
5:30, 8:30.
And
Sound
then
good?
we'll delineate the 3 options, but really emphasize the modified D
Yeah.
Sounds
as your
great.
recommendation.
For all the reasons we've
Mhm.
all expressed, right?
Yeah, based
So-
on
so
last
I,
year.
I hear a motion.
Yeah.
Was
I'm
there,
gonna make
was there a
motion.
second?
Yeah.
Second?
Yeah, I
All in
second the
favor?
motion. All in favors? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so item G will be put off until next month when Janice is here. And any staff updates?
Yeah, I got a couple. Regarding grants, we're awaiting. I think we should hear back from the TDA Article 3 grant regarding the bike ped master plan update that we applied for. So fingers crossed there. It's not really grants, but we should know the status or the future of our shuttle stops, of our commute.org shuttle program this month as well. I think I touched on it a little bit before, but it was a countywide reduction in routes, and there was a lot of, I attended a couple of meetings with other agencies, and there's a lot of discussion about which routes to prioritize, and I'm cautiously optimistic about our routes because by comparison, we actually had a high rate of usage amongst residents, but we'll wait to see about that this month. Upcoming grants, there is a bike ped grant that I mentioned earlier regarding Sierra Point Parkway. That it's a cyclical grant that comes every 2 years for the SMCTA. So we'll be applying for the Sierra Point Parkway bike lane for that project. And then another grant, I think there was one more grant. And then there was, I think I might have mentioned it in our, I think we were applying in our June meeting, but we did submit an application to the county, or it's sponsored by the county, but it does come into Brisbane where it would be a slurry seal and the addition of bike lanes on Guadalupe Canyon Parkway in both directions. And those are our upcoming grants. Projects we are about to fund, Monterey Street between San Bruno Avenue and Visitation Avenue, the pavement maintenance we've been talking about, we had our bid opening on July 24th, and last Friday we issued a notice to proceed to the contractor. We feel it's a very competitive bidding process, and we've actually worked with this contractor before. They previously paved Visitation Avenue a couple years ago. So we're currently in the process of signing the construction agreement, and I gave all the documents to our city clerk, and it's just a matter of getting the council signature, city manager's signature, and that project will likely start mid-August. Bayshore VWR, the bus stop relocation and the traffic signal improvements and striping improvements to that intersection. We did issue a request for proposals for the design of that project. We did receive a few proposals, and we are now evaluating those and are looking to get that project started. And the San Bruno retaining walls, I don't know if you guys remember this one from a while back regarding the storm events that happened, but there's a lot of red tape. I don't want to get into all of it, but long story short, the funds that we were awarded for that project were technically not solidified real funds until just this last month. So we can actually move ahead with that project and build it and be reimbursed with it. That's still a long way down the road, and I know that was from a while ago, and I can provide more information on that. But we are going to be able to fund retaining walls on San Bruno Avenue between Annis and Gladys. And if you guys recall, there was a big landslide there when there was the storm event in 2022. And it's been a long time coming. It's really has been a lot of back and forth with Caltrans regarding the funding of that. But we're glad we can actually break ground on that project.
Tomas, may I ask about that? I wasn't familiar with that, but since that's on San Bruno between Annis and Gladys, you said there's no sidewalk or minimal sidewalk on that whole stretch from Thomas to Bayshore.
Mhm.
Is that, I don't know where the retaining wall is going to be, probably on
It would
the,
be directly across from on the other side of the street where that
Is there gonna be enough space made when you put the retaining walls in so that way the road can move and
Yeah.
then the sidewalk can go in on the other side?
Yeah, there's going to be a fair amount of excavation and grading work involved, but
Amazing, because
idea,
I
yeah.
see families walk up that and I just cry for them every time I'm watching it.
no, yeah, definitely on our radar there. And I just spoke through a lot of those pretty quickly, but yeah, those are my staff updates.
Good job on that. Thanks. Guys, I appreciate that. All right, that brings us to chair and committee member matters.
I'm sorry, can I do one quick staff update as well?
Oh, sorry, Maz.
No, my apologies. So I also wanted to mention that I know we've talked about this a little bit. We're going to move, and we're looking at actually doing our capital improvement plan, where we are going to put our projects together for potential council consideration for funding. One of the projects that we are looking at, and I wanted to confirm where we kind of landed on that, was the 5 points. We have we still have the temporary improvements out there with the flexible delineators. We were considering other options and treatments within that intersection. So I wanted to just kind of highlight that that's still something that's on our radar. And I don't know, I know it's not agendized for robust discussion, but is there any concerns with us moving forward with looking at other alternatives? Or do we want to move forward with finalizing what was out there? I just wanted to get a sense of that as we talk to our council on that capital project.
Anybody?
I'm not familiar. You're talking about San Francisco where they have the temporary, is that
Yes.
what you're talking about?
Correct. So the San
I'm making
Francisco
that-
Avenue and Old County Road and Visitation, the five streets that come together. Right now we have, there's flexible delineators that are the community brought up, and that has been in place for a little over a year now, I believe. So there was a budget to formalize those with concrete improvements. But as we were discussing Visitation Avenue as a whole, there was some thoughts and considerations with doing some sort of a different treatment, like potentially a traffic circle or roundabout. And I just wanted to get a little bit of direction, feedback, if we are still interested in going down that path of looking at a different alternative, or if we want to finalize what the temporary improvements that we have in place right now.
Oh, you want to do a roundabout? Please, by all means, go for it.
So that's
Make
what I wanted to.
Commander Garcia's job easier. Let's do it.
All right, I appreciate that. I just wanted to get a quick pulse check on that, and so we'll continue those conversations, and we'll be coming back to this committee with more information on that.
Yeah, I mean, I now remember what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I think at one point we discussed you guys bringing us some costs on the roundabout and some renderings and stuff like that. But I don't know if that's too. I mean, do you need to get into the weeds to get some of that stuff? Just to have an idea. It's a little hard for me to envision a runabout there. It seems like the space is limited and there's a lot of stuff going on. But nevertheless, it would be something sexy and nice for the town.
Yeah, it's. I mean, obviously, the right of way considerations are really tight. That would be the main challenge. I'm gonna talk to our city council and go through that process. I feel like it needs a little bit more focused design work. So we would like to get some funding from council to do some design, at least high level design. We don't have to get a full design in place, but at least a high level to understand what our roadway configuration could look like, if it's feasible to do that based on the speeds and the angles of the streets that we have currently out there. So if the desire is still there, then I just want to double check on that. So we will touch base with our city council and see if we can get that funded, and then come back with more information on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from staff? All right. That brings us to chair and committee member matters.
Well, so just quickly, I volunteered to be part of the beautification subcommittee. We met last month. It seems it's a powerful committee. A lot of the staff people that attended were at director level. Moss was there, Jeremy, Caroline, and then two city councils and other members from different committees. So their main goal is to, like the committee says, beautification and landscape maintenance overview. So what you were guys talking about in terms of bushes and, we and all that, they're their radars are gonna be on that type of stuff, but keep them, bring them in, so, a lot of that stuff gets clear and it's good for safety, but it also makes the town looks beautiful and maintained. There also another interesting thing that we talked about. Any citizen can adopt any spot, meaning like if you're interested of cleaning or maintaining one particular area of the park or different areas, you could volunteer and do that. And we had a lot of volunteers. And that's pretty much it for now. And I'll keep you posted as some more stuff come along.
Thank you. I was wondering about the first meeting that you went to.
Jose, Emily? So I only have a couple things, and I'll be brief. And Maz, you know about the crumbling overpass southbound Skyline over Highway 1, Daly City and Pacifica border. And I bring that up because I've, for the last year, have sent through the proper portal through Caltrans requests. But more than request, this is urgent, right? You've seen it. It's not cool. Well, what's not cool is we had the Transportation Authority come here to one of our meetings, and I talked about how dangerous our exit is off of Highway 101 coming off the off-ramp northbound with the vegetation. And last week there was a car broke down on that overpass. Now, it's not because I said that this is going to happen. It's happened before over the years, or garbage that was dumped there and you didn't see it until now all of a sudden you're coming around the corner and you can't see anything because of the vegetation, or the vegetation as it's coming on the Bayshore from the eucalyptus trees with the bike lane and all these other things, or cars broken down just off the off-ramp on the right shoulder, but you can't see that car until you're making that turn, but there's a pothole there, and you see the cars are trying to avoid the pothole, so they tend to go towards that shoulder. Now, these are all things that happen the way, that's how people drive, right? But the issue that I brought up to the Transportation Authority, and I've sent Caltrans requests to have that vegetation cleared since the Transportation Authority was here, since they were here. Well, 3 months went by and nothing was done. So I sent in a request. That was, a year ago? So I don't get what has to happen, but I was hoping that the city of Brisbane, although that's not in city of Brisbane's boundary, it's in South City. That whole overpass is within South City's, I guess, sphere of influence. But I was hoping, coming from the city of Brisbane, asking Caltrans to not only clean that vegetation, but since they're going to be doing the vegetation, that means the overpass is closed. So why couldn't they fix those potholes as you're coming off the overpass into that turn?
We can speak with South City and also Caltrans to see if we can get that done. I know when I submitted a request for that as well, one of the responses I received was that they have different crews that do different things. So they actually asked me to submit another request for the other items, which I did. But yes, some of them are just still pending. So we can reach out to them and see if we can get that back on their radar. Appreciate you bringing that back up.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Okay, that brings us to adjournment. Thank you, everybody.